Hey, CapriciousBlackBox, it's me again. So sorry about the long wait for the response. I had meant to get to this much earlier, and had a big move and everything go on, and been very busy. But let's get to it. So I watched your both your videos, and felt kind of a little bit frustrated at times, mostly in the first video, and a little bit cowed watching the second one. Definitely the best point you made was the idea of who's the moral agent in those situations. And I got to admit that every scenario, lifeboat scenario as you call them, that I brought up, it was true that the person who was in control of the situation, that was forcing the responses, was the bad guy, the hostage, the person with their finger on the nuclear detonator, and that the other people weren't giving a choice, and that you express that morality is made in choices. And I agree with that 100%. And even what I meant to say, what I meant by saying that I didn't think you had said anything incorrect in the video that I was originally responding to, is because you didn't. Um, I knee jerk made the video, all in one shot, immediately after watching that video about the whole Deconverted Man and Mad Slick thing, because I am really interested in talking about morality. And this is definitely the first time where I've talked about it with somebody who wasn't a theist, and I wasn't arguing against objective morality from divine fiat. So this is new to me. And I still kind of hold by that morality is through consensus, but I had expressed in the part of my video where I was talking about the roots of morality, that it does come from empathy, and empathy comes from a biological predisposition towards treating people, other people, as kin. I do gotta admit that I treat a dog differently than I treat a person, and I definitely treat an ant or a pest differently than I treat the dog and the person. And I would say that that's pretty good evidence for that. And I'm sorry if there's this white stuff going on in the video here, and it cracked the shit out of my phone. And it's the best recording equipment I have, unfortunately. And I live too close to wildlife, so I'm going to go inside because I think there is a cicada in that tree behind me. Very annoying creatures. So I think that people are afraid are afraid of morality coming from a public consensus, because that means that it could be subject to change, and it could be subject to change for the worse. And people want a standard so they can say killing people is always wrong, rape is always wrong. And I do believe that there are statements you can make with absolute or near absolute certainty. I think rape is probably the absolute easiest, beyond theft, beyond killing, even killing of babies, in terms of greater good. And I too get pissed off at people for making those kind of light boat scenarios, because they usually can be like appeals to emotion, especially when they bring up the baby instead of a grown man or something like that. And it's very easy to go, oh, killing a baby, well, what if you're euthanizing one that's in extreme pain, or what if you're stuck in this situation where the baby has an incredibly virulent and contagious disease, and you can't afford to let it have spread? You could go any number of ways, which is why I am uncomfortable with an absolute statement. Because to me, when I hear objective, I hear code, I hear absolute, I hear you can't kill the baby no matter what. And that statement, no matter what, that caveat, no matter what, is what I am arguing against. When I hear absolute, I hear can't be amended, can't can't be is a law that can't be disobeyed, no, even if the situation really calls for it. So I know that you are of the exact same mind in that regard. So that's what I was arguing against is, semantics. Unfortunately, is that I am uncomfortable with that. And when I say subjective, I don't mean that I have a nihilistic approach that my morality is good as anybody else's. We can make judgments, as you said, that are based in ethics that are not dismissible just because somebody wants to. That's what I had meant to say. And I probably went too off topic and tried to address too many things in a 10-minute video that I did more to confuse what I was saying than was good for me, in trying to be concise. And, you took 60 minutes to respond, which was probably smart. But that's really what I had meant to say, was that's what I like, in the same way I was, I guess, accusing you of saying that you were uncomfortable with the word subjective because, well, I thought, at least, and still think a little, that you're equating subjective with nihilism, or, all's fair, or his is as good as mine, and all things are permitted. That's not what I meant. I don't really know a better way to say that other than I was literally just objecting to the idea of a morality that's set in stone. And it's important that you said the word prescriptive. No, never mind. What I'm really trying to say is, if somebody were to say killing people is always wrong, well, what is war but to, somebody saying, I got a whole army and I'll kill the shit out of you unless you can kill the shit out of me first. You have to, self-defense. Somebody's about to kill you and you have to hurt them, perhaps even kill them to protect yourself. So, no, thou shalt not kill is bullshit. I am probably more on your side. I am 100% against the death penalty. I don't believe there's any excuse for capital punishment ever. I do believe in life imprisonment, and I do believe in the concept of prison as a deterrent. I think that deterrent is one of the least useful functions of things like prison and fines. But I also believe that they need to be there. And I believe that under most circumstances, imprisoning a person is wrong. I believe in almost all circumstances, killing a person is wrong. And I gotta admit, I can't think for a second outside of a lifeboat scenario that raping a person is ever okay. But I don't believe that evidence of things that are 99.9 or 100% wrong at all times is evidence for a system, a complete system of ideas where you can make 100% statements on anything. And that's the last thing I want to say here is, like you, I am on a quest. I think that's a corny term, but it's cool. It's whatever. And that my mind will always be changing about things like morality. So I should have said from the get-go, and it's my own damn fault, that what I was objecting to was the idea of something that is completely unyielding in terms of morality, where anybody can sit down and give a list of actions, verbs that you can't do, ever, because that's ridiculous. That's what I meant, is ridiculous. And that's what I had meant by that last term that came. One of the last things that came up is, the idea of an unfalsifiable moral statement to me is ridiculous. And that's because those lifeboat scenarios can happen. And sometimes those lifeboat scenarios are extremely plausible. You know, like justifiable homicide. It happens every day, thousands of times. So that's what I was myself reflexively dismissing was that you can make objective statements about actions if they are not moral, but when it comes to morality, it's a huge subject, and you know, is it handed down from anyone or anything, and is it complete and finished? Here you go. Here are the rules. It's always wrong to break them. I don't believe that exists, and I don't think you do either. And that's why you're perfectly right to say that we're in agreement, probably 95%. I do agree with you, 95%. So that's basically it. I really was flattered that you chose to take all that time. And believe me, I would have done the whole splicing your comments indirectly in the video if I had any idea how to do that. I am an extremely unprofessional channel, and I make no excuses for that. But I'm glad we did this. This is fun, and it was challenging and made me look at my own ideas, and that's a good thing. And it made me think I was wrong about a few of the things I said, or at least was going about my reasoning in the wrong way. That was the biggest takeaway. I just want to say one more time the idea of who is the moral agent, who's really making the decision, because you aren't really allowed to make the decision between killing the baby or killing the world, because you didn't want to kill the world or the baby, and it was not your idea. And therefore, that's what I was saying in that last part about it's the right thing to do to kill the baby, but it's not a good thing to do. And you were in full agreement there. I can't say whether or not I would consider sacrificing myself to save the baby. Can tell you for sure that it would be something I'd never forget and probably never forgive myself for doing, even though it wasn't my choice, you know, because we do have emotional compunctions, you know. You could a person who was without a conscience, because that's one of the places I think morality comes from, would say, not my baby, not my problem. But we instinctually care about babies, and I have mentioned that in other videos before, that you know, babies, things that look like babies, teddy bears, puppies, and whatnot, provoke an instinct response in us. And sometimes us rational people don't like to admit that we are instinctual creatures, and that a lot of the the things we do and the choices we make are not completely rational, but are almost entirely dictated by our impulses, which are not always bad, you know, and not always good. But I think that most of our good impulses, more of our good old impulses than our bad impulses, come from instincts. And that's all I was saying there. So anyway, I feel like this video's gone a little bit too long anyways. Just wanted to say that this was cool, and it was a challenge, and I really liked all your points, and I pretty much agree with where you're coming from. I don't like to talk or think in idealistic ways, which is another reason why I just snap made my original response to you. I think being an idealist is not really always good for people because it gets people thinking in black and white terms. But I don't think you have that problem, even if you have some idealistic ideas. And that's a good thing that you should be proud of. I'm proud of the rational part of me too. So thanks for watching.